It's story time. The Ta-ta-kle-ahs, submitted by Squeam. I should start out by saying that as a child, I was never very spiritual. While I was born into a family of Native Americans, my mother being a sun dancer, I never really believed in anything they said. But I remember this story vividly, as it still, to this day, haunts my dreams. This story took place when I was 10 years old, living in California with my mother and my older brother. It was summertime, mid-July. And that year, I was attending a summer camp. I won't be giving it a name for privacy reasons and because it's still active. I remember at this camp that it was boys and girls mixed, but a group of around the same age boys or girls would be put together to make a tent, as this was a stay-away camp. And most tents would be made of 7 kids and 1 adult, or 6 kids and 2 adults. My tent was made of 6 girls, including myself, and 2 counselors, also girls. And I remember them being so horrific looking. They were just, to put it nicely, not exactly the face of a fashion magazine. Maybe the before picture for a plastic surgery ad. Now, as a kid, I trusted adults and always did what they said. But these 2 always gave me a bad feeling. However, being a kid and not trusting my gut, I just had fun and ignored the feeling. It had been about 3 days into the week. Everything was normal. Stupid gut, maybe I was just hungry, I had thought to myself at one point that day. That night had been the night my tent was designated to shower. However, because 2 of the other girls in my tent were making a fuss, we got to the showers later than everyone else. So we were alone. To some of the girls, it was cool, because it meant we had more time to shower. But to me and one other girl, who we'll call Marcy, it was eerie. The bathroom shower area was a bit a ways from the tents for the girls, and we'd have to hike through a trail through a dense woods to get to a field. At the edge of the field was a small mountain, not a hill, as it was bigger and rocky, along with having some caves perfect for camper versus counselor hide and seek. So, my tent and I were making our way through the trail to get to the field. At this time, we only had one of our counselors with us, as the other opted to stay by the tent to make sure no pesky boys come snooping around. I was looking around the trail, looking at the trees, being careful of roots, when I swore I heard my mother's voice. I couldn't make out what she was saying, but I could vividly hear her. I remember feeling like she was in trouble and wanting to go see her, but no one else was reacting to anything. So I thought that maybe I misinterpreted something, that it was just a branch or the wind, and everyone else who wasn't raised by my chatty mom just heard it as wind. So we reached the shower house. It's a relatively normal building, kind of like a school gym locker room. One side girls, one side boys, and each side had a showering area and a bathroom sink area that was divided by a curtain. We go to the girls' showering area. There were only 5 showers, so one of us had to wait till another girl was done. So I decided to be the one to wait since I had the longest hair and knew I'd take the longest. Though, as I was waiting, over the sound of running water, I heard what sounded like scratching against the roof of the bathrooms. No, it wasn't like nails, but rather talons. I then distinctly remember the sound of the flapping of wings, but not of some small chickadee or small bird. No, it was much louder. I heard one of the counselors call from outside. "You girls almost done in there?" My gut feeling, it was back. And it was telling me, urging me, don't respond. It was telling me not to be there, to hide. I felt as if something was chasing me, that same adrenaline feeling. It felt like someone was looking for me, but I was just sitting on a bench waiting to shower. I tried to wait it out, Maybe it was just because I was getting tired from how late it was. But then, I cannot stress this enough, I felt my gut so strongly tell me that my life was in danger. I ran into the shower stall Marcy was in, startling her before closing the curtain behind me, holding the edges of it the best I could to each side of the wall. She looked at me confused as she tried to cover herself, though I didn't care, and she quickly seemed to catch on that I didn't. I could tell she wanted to ask me, "What the hell are you doing?" Or, "Do you need a shower that badly?" But we just stared at each other, listening to the other girls shower. I heard a curtain swish open. I remember squeezing my knuckles so tightly around our curtain that they hurt. Marcy had to have been reading my mind at that time because she just turned the water back on and pretended to still be showering. It was at that point that I wanted to scream to the other girls, "Keep showering, there's something wrong, something's there, the water is keeping you safe." But I didn't. I was just filled with fear. I could only focus on the pounding of my heart and keeping the curtain closed. Though I remember that fear turning to guilt and worry as I heard shower after shower turn off, curtain after curtain swish open beside our own. But no footsteps leaving them. I didn't remember seeing any shadows outside the curtains. No laughing voices, no one asking to borrow a razor, nothing. Just the sound of Marcy and I breathing, and the water of the shower pelting against us. I wondered, is anyone else still there? Did they leave back to the tent? Did whatever is out there get them? I don't know how long Marcy and I stood there, under the shower's water. No matter how cold that water got, we did not turn it off. "Hello, is anyone there?" It was a counselor from Tent 7, another girls' tent. I was still in this sort of panic mode, unsure of how to respond, my heart still pounding to the point of ringing in my ears. I heard footsteps come into the shower area, and seconds later, the curtain I desperately had been holding closed was opened, with too much force from my sore knuckles to keep shut. And standing there was just the counselor from Tent 7, a young tanned Asian woman whose confused face soon turned to worry as she quickly looked back around at the other showers. She had asked us what we were doing, why we were in the shower together, and where the rest of our tent was. I never saw the girls from my tent again, along with those two counselors. I was moved to Tent 7 along with Marcy. However, we both didn't have very much fun the rest of that week. We preferred not to shower when we didn't have to, and we always made sure we showered with the other tents. I didn't know it at the time, but what had happened was that my counselors were Ta-ta-kle-ahs, owl shape-shifting witches. They were creatures told through stories by Native American tribes, saying how these large owls would mimic voices, wanting to lure small children into fields or caves to eat them. There were supposedly only ever 5 of them, and that many centuries ago, they had all been killed after their cave home in California was discovered and blown up. I was told this by my mother for a project for school, my topic being Native American creatures. I still haven't told her about this story. And well, from what I found online, that water did nothing to protect us. Perhaps it was the fact we didn't respond, that we stayed together. I'm not sure how I'm alive after an encounter like that. I didn't keep in contact with Marcy as neither of us had cell phones. But what I do know is that I'll always trust my gut, and that those Ta-ta-kle-ahs are alive.
Oh man, thank you so much for sharing this. So I have never heard of these creatures before. And I want to mention that you included in a follow-up email that you said your cousin helped you figure out what it might have been. Since your mom was the one who dropped you off at the camp and spoke to the counselors, that's how it learned to mimic her voice. You also said that you never saw your tent or those counselors again. Did the camp give you an explanation why? That's a lot of people to go missing. And I'm curious to know if people have gone missing since your time there. And if so, they should probably relocate. Or stop operating. I know you didn't want to call out the camp, but part of me is like, give me their number. I have some questions for them.
Thanks for joining me today. And did you know that I offer bone and tarot readings? You can schedule a session at storieswithsapphire.com. Salamat and good night.